people ask me, Jeff, you've been doing this a long time. What would you say that your current sticking points are? Right? And anyone want to guess what my current sticking point is?
You haven't had sex on the moon yet?
Haven't had sex on the moon yet. Or Antarctica. No, honestly, this is something I've been struggling with for a long time, and I think it's a very common problem. And I made a lot of headway on this actually in the past year or so. And it's this idea of, I have a tendency to make things harder than they are. Does anyone else feel they have this kind of issue? Basically what it is, you mentally build things up in your mind. So it becomes this Herculean effort in your mind, and it becomes kind of daunting, and you then tend to avoid the task entirely. We all have projects that we know we should do, but we just don't start them because they're like, this is going to be a massive project. It's going to take forever to get it done. I'm just not even going to start. Right? And it's kind of funny because I look at, I look at friends of mine who I consider otherwise pretty smart people. And a lot of these guys, they have these kind of blind spots to various things. Like one friend of mine is incredibly unpunctual, right? So a Canadian friend of mine, who you may or may not know, very unpunctual. And he's been working on that. I've got another friend, he just gets in fights all the time. He just starts screaming at people. Like, he's basically like a violent Larry David. If you know what that is, like someone will do something, violate some minor social norm, but and no one else will call it out. Like someone cuts in line or something. This guy will just start fighting. He'll just start punching them. He's been doing this for like 30, 40 years. And he's never been in trouble for it, and he always seems to win. He started losing recently, because he's like 50, but but yeah, it's violent Larry David. This same guy, he also has a tendency to get into these like terrible, terrible relationships with just insane people, like absolutely insane people who call the cops on, make up stories, call the cops on him, move into his house and refuse to leave, things of that nature. I'm like, why do you keep dating these people? Get rid of this person. What are you doing? Stop getting in these damn fights, right? I got another friend, a pretty close friend of mine. This guy, he's kind of like an alcoholic, and I'm always telling him, you gotta stop drinking, you gotta stop drinking. He also, he'll like come like meet us in the park, and he'll get so fucked up, he starts like rolling down the hill, like literally rolling drunk down the fucking hill, like, Jack and Jill roll down the fucking hill to fetch a pail of water. He will, subsequently, he used to live with me, and this guy, he would get blackout drunk, and he would bring various friends that he met in the night home, and which is fine, but he's being obnoxiously loud. They're hooting and hollering, slamming doors. There's other people that live there that have like jobs or like civilians. I'm like, these people aren't like us, dude. You can't be doing this. And they're getting super pissed off, which is fine. Once in a while, everyone, young people are gonna have fun. But the bigger problem is he would become so intoxicated that he would then pass out. And now these randoms have the run of the house to do whatever they wish, steal shit. One time they left the front door open. And I don't live in like the countryside, okay? Like an opossum isn't gonna come in. You know who's gonna come in? A crackhead. Or the dog's gonna run out. So the last straw, I remember we had a party. It was like a 4th of July party. And he had some guest over. And I was, mingling about. And I had made friends with a young Colombian lady. And we were enjoying each other's company. And then this woman that he had brought begins like causing some sort of ruckus. And she's like, just being obnoxious. And I'm like, yo, get this chick out of here, dude. And he's like, yo, you gotta go. She's like, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. And everyone's like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like, and everyone in the party starts chanting, get the fuck out. In fact, all chanting, so we get the effect. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Like they're chanting, like imagine that many people like chanting at you to get that. She's like, no. No. And so I'm sitting on the couch with this girl, and she turns to me, she goes, Jeffy, if you do not kick this woman out, I will not fuck you. And I'm like, yo, dude, I'm sorry. My days of dragging hoes down the stairs by their hair is over. I do not do that shit anymore. So I go to my buddy, and I'm like, yo, you need to get her. If you don't get her out, you're evicted. You didn't kick her out. And so I had to evict him. So here's the funny part. Flash forward to like a couple weeks ago. He texts me, he's like, hey man, these roommates of mine, they're crazy. You know, they're all mad because I brought someone home the other night and they got all mad. I'm like, dude, do you not see, this is the same reason that you got kicked out of my house. Don't you understand the common denominator here is you? Do you not understand this? It's like, nah, man, they're crazy. They're the crazy. Like, he just doesn't get it. He has a blind spot to this. So when I see friends doing things of this nature, I don't think, oh, you know, they're stupid or whatever will I do. But I additionally, I think, I'm more concerned with where is my blind spot? Where are people telling me, hey, Jeff, yo, you're doing this, that, the next thing, and I'm just like not seeing it. Like whatever part of my brain will just not permit me to see it. So, you know, over time, I kind of came to realize this was one of them, this idea of I kind of have this, and I think identity and self-image kind of really tie into this particular issue of making things harder than they are. So what's an identity I have? It takes me a while to get into gear. But once I get into gear, I'm good. But I got to get into that right headspace before I begin. So, you know, I put out a lot of different programs in the 20 years I've been doing this. I put out, you know, Execute the Program, that online dating thing. I put out the Charisma Mastery. When I created those programs, each of those took several months of like 14-hour days. Like waking up, eating, maybe hitting the gym real quick, and then beginning to work, whether content creation, video editing, filming, whatever, 14 hours until like I look up, it's 3 a.m, I'm utterly exhausted, cannot even see anymore, go to bed. As I'm falling asleep, thinking about what I'm gonna work on in the morning, how I'm gonna do more on the project in the morning, fall asleep, wake up, do it again, do that for 4 months straight. Don't talk to any friends, don't care. Doesn't matter, locked in, going, go. But it takes me a while to get into gear. But that's just something I say to myself. There's no reason I couldn't just do that. So again, I came to an understanding of that. Now, another thing, for example, like what would be another disempowering kind of mental self-talk or self-image that might be messing you up? Anyone? Want to share? Yes.
Saying I got to get into state.
Yeah, I got to get into state.
I have all the answers before I start.
I need more research, need more information. Yeah.
I need someone else with me to do it.
Yeah, I need my buddy to do it. I'm not a morning person. I can't get up that early. Math isn't my strong suit. Things of that nature. You're basically telling yourself that you can't do it. And here's a big one. This is a big one, more relevant to what we're talking about, you know, here on this event. I'll tell students what you're doing isn't really working. I want you to do X, Y, Z. Because remember the other day we talked about in order to get an improved level of charisma, you must understand and act upon the following 5 concepts. Number 1, the vision for the results you want. Like, what does it look like when you get good at this? How do you quantify that? What results are you getting in dating? What results are you getting in your business life, at work? What results are you getting when you're dealing with, you know, problems, conflict with your family? What results are you getting socially? What does that look like? That's number 1, clear idea. Number 2, coming to a clear-eyed and realistic acceptance of the demands that are going to be put upon you by the results you want to have. In other words, you want gangster results, you got to do gangster shit. Like the current things you're doing are not going to result in these movie results. There's not. If you go up and you say, hey, what's up? How's your night? You're not going to have this like rock star result. And again, you can understand that intellectually and say, yeah, I understand that probably won't work, but it's quite another thing to go up and do that and see them look at you with disdain and disinterest and just want to get away and feel that repulsiveness emanating off of yourself and realizing that they want nothing to fucking do with you. But again, it's not you, it's what you're doing. They're not rejecting you per se, they're rejecting the approach. So coming to a clear-eyed understanding of the demands that are going to be put upon you by the types of results you want to have. Number 3, understanding the environment in which you're trying to have these results. Number 4, becoming aware of how your negative social counter conditioning is inhibiting you from getting these results, or rather from behaving in the way and taking the actions that would get those results. Why can't I do that? Okay, here's what I have to do. Why can't I do that? Because of the conditioning. How is that conditioning manifesting when I try to do these things? And then number 5, what's to be done about all of this? Developing some sort of rigorous, methodical exercise process that's going to allow you to transcend those conditioned limits and kind of step through the fear into the unknown where the growth happens. So one thing that I hear a lot, the dude will come on the program and he'll be like, yo, that's not working. I notice you're making a decision to act like this. That's not working. Why don't you try this instead? And you know what they say? Well, that's not me. That's just not me. Does it sound familiar to anyone in here? Like I'm like, yo, do this gangster thing. Like go, not even gangster, go up and express intention. Oh, here's something you could say to kind of express that. Say that. Oh, that's not me. Okay, go up and kind of stand in this way and do. Oh, that's not me. Okay, well, the shit you're doing don't work. So perhaps you want to step out of that, those strictures of what you believe to be your current identity, and step outside of that and try something new. So for a lot of people, this identity conflict is the biggest barrier to change. Because the thing is, whether you like it or not, when you're meeting someone for the first time, whether you're the initiator or not, there is a sense of performance. There's a sense of performance, isn't there? You're very aware of being observed and thereby judged. Now, again, like I said, if you want to have if you meet your next door neighbor that just moved in, and you want to welcome them to the neighborhood, that's great. But as these interactions become more complicated, they require, like say for example, moving from like civil, banal conversation to actively trying to curry favor with a group of people that you just met, or business negotiation, or moving things forward in a romantic way with someone you just met. As these interactions become more complicated, they demand an increased understanding of the conventions of these types of interactions, right? And that's where the whole technique comes in. Like I said, we're trying to do things that are only possible in the movies here, right? Selling, closing sales, again, trying to get intimate with somebody you just met in a very short time frame. These are not things that people do in most people at least do in their everyday lives. These types of things require skill, they require technique, they require precision, they require control. So if you want to get those results, what you want to do is you want to move from what you might call an unconscious use of your natural technique to an increasingly free and natural seeming technique, or a more aware use of more formalized techniques, right? Conscious manipulation of your vocal, mental, emotional energies must all seem to be completely natural. And this is largely a matter of exercise. So when we're talking about identity, think about this. When you're born with little or no conventions about how to move through the world. How do you learn? You learn through observation, you learn through emulation, you learn through practice, you learn through correction, and eventually you arrive at a way of navigating the world that you call your personality. But what you got to understand, you're doing the exact same thing when you're attempting to adopt a new style of communication. So it's kind of like trying on new shoes. It's going to be painful at first. It might not seem natural. But really, there's no like one way of behaving that's any more natural than another, if you think about it. At least this time around, you have like the benefit of developed cognitive thought, and you can actually decide how you want to be. Right? So again, there's a parallel between that original learned naturalness of your developed personality and trying to adopt a style that's going to get you specific results. So you want to, again, try on these strange ways of being, so to speak. You want to exercise with many different styles until the human energies feeding into them are no longer inhibited by the shape of the vessel into which they flow. Right? Does that make sense? Yes. I'll say it again. Exercise with many different styles until the human energies feeding them are no longer inhibited by the vessel into which they flow. A lot of people ask me this. I get students, they're like, yo, at the end of the program, they go, Jeff, I notice when you go out, you're pretty like ebullient, you're pretty outgoing, you're pretty confident, kind of a cocky dick. And by the way, that is one thing that I think would help a lot of people in this room probably, would be more of a cocky dick. Do you know what I mean by that? Because I see a lot of dudes, they go up and they're kind of like, so how's it going? Like, are you, like, they're like this harmless person. Oh, like what a nice harmless person. Oh, so harmless. Oh, so harmless. It's fine, this person's fine. Inoffensive, fine. Now, by the way, I'm not suggesting that you go out of your way to be purposefully offensive for the sake of being offensive. Because some people then do that. They hear the shit and then they're like, I heard the Jeffy said this. Like literally we were on boot camp a couple weeks ago and some student was trying to say some shit that we were saying and it just did not work out at all. Something about like murdering people. Like so, and it just did not work out because they did not say it in the same manner that we did. But yeah, so don't be doing that. But by the same token, when I say a cocky dick, think of pretty much any character portrayed by the actor Ryan Reynolds. Was that movie where he's like in college, he's like some party guy or some shit like that? Yes, Van Wilder, or what's the one where he's waiting? Some of his earlier work, he's just kind of like this, hey, he's like, he thinks he's better than you, and he probably kind of is. And he's just like quips and like, it's not mean-spirited. It's just very sassy, you know? It's like, hey, good evening, as opposed to, hey, I like your dress. You know, this kind of like meek, trying for rapport tonality. I would say just kind of be more of a cocky dick. I mean, and that's that's another example of, you know, a reluctance to adopt a different style of communication. But like, oh, that's like offensive. That's not me. I'm like a respectful person, and this, that, the next thing. It's like, it's not even a question of being respectful or not. You know, like I said, it's not mean-spirited. It's just kind of, you know, hey, what's up? So people ask me, were you always like this? I'm like, no, dude. Like I said the other day, I was kind of like an edgelord. You know, like a mall sword, trench coat wearing, like obnoxious weirdo with like a terrorist haircut and like Marilyn Manson makeup. You know, I was not like that. So they said, well, how did you get like this? Well, quite frankly, I saw the shit I was doing didn't fucking work. Right? So I think, again, that is, in many ways, that's part of the value of coming on a boot camp, is getting a very visceral, like in-your-face understanding that the shit you're doing does not work. Because most of you probably intellectually understand that. Like, logically it makes sense that if I go and say, what's up, it's not going to work. I understand that. But again, knowledge is not knowing. You're not going to know until you've like gone and spoken to 30 people and they all think you suck ass. And you're like, okay, it really doesn't work. Right? There's the proof. There's the visceral, gut-wrenching proof. And that's what made me change. It's like, this shit don't work. Okay, what works? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to begin to adopt a variety of different styles until I figure out what actually works. You know, and this is one thing I'm always talking about. Behavioral change starts with awareness. You got to be aware of it first. That's why a lot of the work that we do, I'd say that, there's a couple big points of the work we do. Number one, tension is the enemy. Physical tension is the enemy. Understanding where physical tension comes from. Again, largely in a nutshell, to put it very simply, negative social counter conditionings cause you to be very careful around your uses of energy. And the instinctual control pattern is, again, and this isn't like some verbalized thing in your mind. It just right brain, culturally conditioned error. There's about to be a change in the quality or quantity of emotional energy I'm outputting through my face, voice, and body. There might be an anxiety component around it from triggers, social anxiety triggers around social humiliation. Shut this shit down. Shut it the fuck down. How do we do that? Physical tension is the enforcer. Facial tension, You get what we call the sad face, serious, anxious, deadpan. Like you might go up and you think you're smiling, but it looks like this like grimace of pain and agony. This like rictus, like of mortal terror. I mean, that sounds fucked up, right? Like, oh, you're being mean to the guy. Well, imagine the experience of the people he has to speak to. What about them? We don't have consideration for them. They're just trying to have a nice afternoon. They're like, hey, out with their friends. Yeah, Sunday fun day. Hey, oh, hello. Yeah, what are we talking about here? Again, facial armoring, sad face, serious, anxious, deadpan. Held, some sort of like held body language, locked knees, weird finger-hand activity, shifting from foot to foot, darting eyes, inability to hold eye contact, things like this. This is the manifestation of tension. So tension is the enemy, but its removal is complicated. And it can cause changes in other areas of this system. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole. You get rid of it in one area, it pops up in another very frequently. So this is why you want to become aware, right? So much of what we do is centered around making you experientially aware of not only these inhibitions, because most of the time, they're under your threshold of awareness, right? These inhibitions are below your threshold of awareness. Why? Well, you've held them to be useful and necessary for so long, you're not even fucking aware of them. And like I said, that subtle onset of tension can come on almost subliminally. So this is why it can be useful for you. If you're out, just do a quick tension check, head to toe. Nothing crazy. You shouldn't be like meditating or something like that. But just like head to toe, where am I holding superfluous tension? Okay, shake it out. This is why I'm always moving in the club. I'm always like moving. I'm always loose. I'm always kind of shaking around, singing, laughing, doing nonsense. So it cannot grab hold of me. So number one, you want to become number two rather, you want to become experientially aware of the gap between what you think you're projecting and what is actually being perceived by other people. Right? Because most guys, they think they're going up and they're smiling and like being animated. And then you can show them like a picture of it later and they're like, oh geez, that's what I look like. And so you got to become aware of it. Awareness is the first step, and at that point you can start to release it. So again, going deeper, when we're talking about these like various identity patterns, this requires introspection. Where are your blind spots? Where are your blind spots? Listen to your friends when they tell you stuff. Take it seriously. If you value these people's opinions, and try to work on it. And it's tough because like even giving up a disempowering identity it's difficult, right? Because even if it's a shitty identity, it's still part of your identity. So it can feel like a little death to let it go. We're very free how we can jump from topic to topic, because obviously you're out of your goddamn mind. We don't really put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Kilroy! Yeah, this is not the new method.
Right.
In fact, the less sense it makes, the better. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
Very, very good.
La la.
Very, very good.
La 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 la.
Very, very good.
How you doing, boys?
Anybody here want to suck?
Hey!